Hey Terror Nation, Ari Ross alongside Director of Athletics Todd Hibbs with a follow-up to our announcement of the addition of men's and women's wrestling as the 17th and 18th varsity programs in Hiram Terror Athletics. Welcome back from Anaheim, Todd. How are you?
I'm doing great. The NCAA convention was wonderful, and I'm happy to be back.
Thanks for joining us today on the Hiram College Network. Of course, we announced just a few weeks ago the addition of men's and women's wrestling as the 17th and 18th varsity programs for Hiram College Athletics. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose those programs to add to Hiram?
Well, you know, it's no secret that I have a background in the sport of wrestling and have been around it for a long time. And we talked about this even when I was interviewing to come to Hiram College. And as we started to look at it as an administration and as an athletic department, it just seemed to be strategic. Hiram once had very successful men's wrestling on this campus for a long period of time, for several decades. And women's wrestling is a growing sport across the country. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, a little bit as well. And so as we looked at a way to bring more student athletes to Hiram College to grow our department, as we compared the sport of wrestling with other sports in terms of startup costs, with the likelihood of being able to recruit to this campus, we just felt as though wrestling was the strategic add at this time. There are other sports that we would consider for the future, but for right now, wrestling being as popular as it is in Northeast Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, strong alumni base, and given my background as well, wrestling made sense for us.
Certainly makes sense. What sort of timeline are we looking at? Of course, we're going to add wrestling, men's wrestling this fall, women's wrestling the following winter. What sort of timeline are we looking at with coaching hires, recruits, and whatnot?
Right, so right now we've already started. We've posted our head men's wrestling coach and director of wrestling operations position. That's one position. This will be a person that we'll bring in to go ahead and start recruiting on the men's side. Then this person will look to hire a graduate assistant on the men's side. We will kick off the men's sport, their season, this coming fall during 2020. They'll actually probably begin practice in October and compete this coming November. However, this person, that director of wrestling operations portion of the title, will also assist me in hiring then the leader of the female program, the women's program, which will actually look to hire probably late summer, early fall. The reason for doing that is there's about 40,000 male wrestlers in Ohio and the surrounding states. There's only about 2,500 female wrestlers. So in order to recruit a full roster for a team, we believe that we could do so on the men's side, hiring at this time, but probably need an entire recruiting cycle of a year to get the women's program up and running. So as I said, we'll start in the fall maybe to bring that person in. And then on the women's side, we will also have a graduate assistant. So in total, in the end, there'll be 4 hires over the next many months for the 2 of these programs.
Some exciting additions, and you mentioned previously Hiram had a very successful wrestling program, winning numerous OAC and PAC titles. What are your expectations for this program competing, not within the Northeast Ohio and within the North Coast Athletic Conference?
Well, I think the model is out there. That the template has been made a lot of different places. I've been a part of programs at Olivet College and Alma College that were reinstated programs, and we've watched this happen at the Division II level, the Division III level, the NAIA level, where you can start a wrestling program and in short time be pretty competitive, both on the academic side and the athletic side. So you do want to give a coach enough time to get their classes in and start to develop them. I mean, wrestling is a tough sport. It's a very physical sport, and so sometimes freshmen competing against seniors can be a little difficult. But nonetheless, some freshmen come in ready to do so. So I would think that in short time, within 3 to 5 years, we'll have highly competitive programs on both sides, the men's and women's, and look to not only have success in our region, but nationally as well.
You mentioned there's been some interest from alumni and other places in the region. What can people do to help support this program?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I mean, certainly just in marketing of the program and helping us with recruiting student athletes to come to Hiram. So as much as the alumni are out there and can be talking about this edition and it coming back and supporting us in that way, we will have some special events coming up once we hire our coach, which I anticipate will be by the end of February. We'll probably have a March event where we will introduce that coach to the community, and not just Hiram alumni, but also to coaches, friends of wrestling all throughout Northeast Ohio. We also do have startup costs, obviously, and part of the deal in bringing back wrestling is that we didn't want the college to have to absorb those costs on the front end. So we've been very fortunate to get some lead donations, but we need to get those matched. We need to, get wrestling mats on this campus. We don't have those yet. And then just looking at other things, equipment and other items that we'll need moving forward. So I'm sure that after our announcement of our coach and our recruiting event, so to speak, we'll move forward with some development opportunities, some fundraising opportunities for individuals. So I'd say just keep an eye on our website and listen for the announcements and support us in the ways that you can.
And lastly, but also most importantly, say you're a high school student, how can you get in touch if you're interested in Hiram and Hiram Athletics and potentially wrestling for this new Hiram wrestling team?
Well, within a month, we'll have a name to share. We'll have a head coach that we can put out there, and then obviously student athletes will be reaching out to that coach. Right now, we have established the web pages on our site, and very shortly we'll have recruiting links on those web pages as well. So once someone sees this probably out there live, what they'll end up doing is that within a week or so, we should have live recruiting links for people to go ahead and fill out recruiting forms, and then we'll be following up with them as we add our coaching staff.
Some exciting times here at Hiram. Todd, thanks for joining me on the Hiram College Network. You can keep up to date with all the latest in Hiram wrestling and Hiram athletics on www.hiramterriers.com and on social media at Hiram_athletics. Thanks again for joining me.
Absolutely. Go Terriers.
Go Terriers.